Hi everyone, I'm Jerome and I'm walking 1,000 miles this year. And today I decided to just have a walk in the town of Liverpool. But first things first, let's just have a look at my mileage so far this year. So today it's the 21st of April and my mileage at the moment is 295 miles. That's a little bit below where I should be. But I'm only like 7 miles behind. I'm sure I'll be able to catch back up in the rest of the year. So I'm here today in Everton Park in Liverpool. And the reason I came to the city today rather than go for a walk in the countryside is because I recently bought a new camera. Well, anyway, it's new to me. This particular specimen here, the Zenith E, this one is built in 1978, so it's even older than I am. But because it's new to me, I have to go and try it out. And so I thought I'd come down to the city because there's always a lot to see, a lot of buildings, a lot of interesting architecture. Will be a good opportunity to just test this camera out. So I bought a roll of black and white film. I've put this in here and I'm just going to have a walk through the city, see what I can see, if there's anything interesting. So I haven't really got a route that I want to walk. I just got a few landmarks I want to visit. I want to visit the cathedrals, both of them, a bombed out church, see what else I can see along the way there. Like I said, not a specific route I'm going to take. So it's been a while since I made my first video. I'm well aware of that, but like I said before, February wasn't a very good month for walking, at least not for me. January I finished well ahead of where I should have been, so I was doing quite well there. And then February came along and we had storms, rain, wind, just in general quite bad weather. And I don't do bad weather very well. I really don't like it. So I was at work and days that I wasn't working, it was raining and it was windy, I just didn't feel like going out, going anywhere. So I ended up falling behind quite a bit. That wasn't, about 20 miles or so behind. And then March came along, weather was a little bit better, but because I was so far behind, I just sort of lost it a little bit. I didn't feel like going out anymore. I did manage to pick up, and at some point I actually was about 20 miles ahead of where I should have been. And then I sort of let it slip again. So what happened is my contract came to an end at the end of March for work. So I knew I was going to be out of work, and I just sort of, just didn't feel well, didn't feel like going out. So that's where we are now. Lost a lot of miles, or fell behind, and I'm busy trying to gain back the miles that I should have walked earlier this month. But it's not been easy, and I think it's something everyone sometimes goes through. Like you've got a goal, you're walking towards it, you want to walk them 1,000 miles, but something happens in your life and you're just not feeling it anymore, and it can be really difficult to find the inspiration to keep going. Luckily, we've been having fantastic weather lately, as you can see today as well. Sun shining, I'm out in a t-shirt, and it's lovely weather. It's just perfect. So perfect weather to go for a walk. So I've just gone past Liverpool Lime Street train station, and I decided to just go have a walk around here. This is St. John's Gardens. I wasn't planning on coming here, so I didn't really do any sort of research. I don't know if there's any special significance to this park, or some busy streets nearby, but it's always quiet around here. And if you walk over to the other side of this park, which is what I'm doing now, you've got the library, art gallery. Museums here are, or these anyway, are free to enter. So if you're ever in Liverpool, you're ever in near Liverpool Lime Street, go and have a look. Go have a look at the museum, because there's beautiful things to see in there. Anyway, my next stop is going to be the Liverpool Metropolitan Cathedral. So it's one of the two cathedrals in the city, and I will visit both of them today. This one was built in the 1960s, so you will see it's quite a modern looking construction. Now, I've been a little bit of an idiot. I've done my research, I've got all the dates, but I left my piece of paper with my notes at home, so I can't give you many details about it. So you can just sort of see Liverpool Lime Street Station just here behind me, but there's a big car park in the way. But from here, if I just turn around, you can see the Metropolitan Cathedral behind me. It's behind the trees. Let's get a little bit closer. So the train tracks are all in a cutting that goes through the city. So see this wall here, behind here, just a deep hole basically, where the train tracks are. So this leads straight into the Lime Street station, and then at certain intervals you have bridges going over it. Right, so here we are. This is the Metropolitan Cathedral. I'm just walking over to the other side. So yeah, you can see that's 1967, if I remember correctly. That was built. I know there were various designs submitted as to how the cathedral should look. And this is the one that won, obviously, because it's standing there. So as you can imagine, not everyone likes it. It's always one of those things. People always either hate designs or they really like designs. But yeah, it looks quite modern, and it's got these interesting coloured columns at the entrance. I believe that's to mimic like stained glass windows you would normally see on old church buildings and old cathedrals. So I don't know if they have anything like that in here. I've never been inside. They do seem to have a lot of glass here, so I imagine it looks quite bright inside. But yeah, I've never been in there. Never had a reason to go in there. So that is the Metropolitan Cathedral. The next cathedral I'm going to be visiting is the one behind me right there. I might make a stop on the way. I'm not going to go straight there, because I think there's another nice landmark to have a look at. So this is St. Luke's Bombed Out Church, known locally as the Bombed Out Church. It was built between 1811 and 1840, thereabouts, and it was bombed in 1941 during the war. Now, the bomb that hit it was an incendiary device, so there was no explosion, but the building caught fire. So it just kept burning until everything that could burn was burned, and what was left was just the walls of the church. It was left like that, and at some point the decision was made to just leave it like that as well, even after the war. And it now stands as a war memorial. So, and not just World War II, obviously World War I as well. And it appears to be closed at the moment, but it doesn't really matter because we can still see it. But you can get inside, and there is a cafe on the premises as well. Now, there never were any graves here, so it's not like you're dining on top of a graveyard. But they have cultural events, things like that. So check it out, check out the website, because they have got a website and you can just see if they've got any events going on, and you can come visit the bombed out church. So I've made it now to the other cathedral, the Liverpool Cathedral. So this is the cathedral most people will think of when you say the Liverpool Cathedral. The interesting thing here is, well, first of all, cathedrals built between like 1900 and somewhere in the 1970s, 1978 or so, thereabouts. At least that's when the whole thing was finished. They built it in parts. But the interesting thing is the graveyard that lies just behind the cathedral. Now, the graveyard itself is built in an old quarry. The quarry was there, started in like the 16th century up until the 19th century. So they just dig a big hole in what's now the middle of the city. And then later they decided to build a graveyard into it. I think they had like 17,000 burials or something like that, if it's not more. I will put the exact number right here in the top corner. So that's how many people were buried there. And if you look at it, it doesn't really look like that big a space where you could put that many people. So I don't know if they've just emptied graves out over the years and just buried people in other places. I don't know. But at some point it stopped being a cemetery, and they removed most of the headstones. And I'm not sure if they've removed any of the bodies. And it's said to be haunted as well. Obviously, with such a long history, it's been since the 19th century, they've been burying people there. Well, I don't know if that's true, but a few years ago, I had a walk just like this in the city, just walked around, took some pictures, and most of the pictures I took in the cemetery here had some sort of weird orbs or light leaks, or there was something weird with these pictures. They were still usable, but there's something wrong with it. And it was only the pictures that I took here in the cemetery that had that problem and nowhere else. So, I don't know, maybe something spooky's going on down there. Here's the entrance to the cemetery. Now this tunnel, on many Ordnance Survey maps, it will be marked as a natural arch. But if you look at it, you can clearly see that it's been worked. So the exact origins aren't really known. It is possible that it was a natural arch, and that when they found it while they were quarrying out stone here, they just widened it so they could use it to walk through and get their stone out the quarry. But it definitely does not look like a natural arch. But who knows? It could be. And that's also one of the places that's said to be one of the most haunted spots of the cemetery. With some people claiming that it's got a lot of negative energy, and if the energy latches onto you, then you're in for a lot of bad luck. Now, whether I believe it or not, so that's it. That's the cemetery, or I think nowadays it's just called St. James's Park. So over here is the William Huskisson monument. Now William Huskisson was a politician, and he was famous for being struck by the rocket locomotive on the opening day of the Liverpool and Manchester Railway. He got out at the station where he was not supposed to get out of his carriage. He did so anyway, and the rocket was coming on an adjacent track and couldn't stop in time. William Huskisson was hit. Wasn't instantly killed, but they tried to get him to somewhere where they could get some medical attention, but that was 1830. It wasn't that easy to get an ambulance as it is nowadays. So later that day, tragically, he died, and the original Liverpool and Manchester Railway, or it's the route that it took, still exists. It goes nowadays from Liverpool Lime Street Station all the way to Manchester. So here's also a well that was discovered, or a spring, a natural spring. And as it goes, they believe the spring to have healing powers. So a lot of people came here to try and get rid of various illnesses, and whether or not that ever was successful, we will never know. Personally, I'm not sure. I doubt it. This is, of course, stone quarry, so the water that's coming out of the spring will have seeped through some layers of rock, probably limestone, and so it will have some minerals in it. So it's possible that minerals will have some healing effects. But I suppose it's more likely that the water coming out of the spring was just cleaner than the water that people would get out of normal wells in the city. We all know that drinking water wasn't the best quality several hundred years ago. So it's quite possible that just the water coming out of the spring was cleaner and therefore healthier for people to drink. Well, that's it for this episode. I've walked quite a few miles now, so I'm going to leave it here and I'm going to go back home. I did enjoy my walk today. Weather was lovely and the scenery is quite beautiful. So I hope you've enjoyed this as well, and hope to see you again in the next video. Didn't see any ghosts. Maybe I've captured some on my film camera. I don't know. If you've seen any ghosts, do let me know in the comments below. Right? I'll see you later.